All right, so this is one you pretty much came up with on the fly last time after we finished the other one, where you had said that you had just watched something that gave you an idea, and it turned out that that movie was Walking Tall.
Yeah.
And we were like, what could go with that? But, like, everything we thought of doesn't really fit Walking Tall tonally.
This one doesn't really either.
Yeah, but it's closer than the other options.
Yeah.
Because you'll notice with Walking Tall, it's kind of got like almost like a classic feel to it. Where it's like, obviously it comes from the original movie with Joe Don Baker that's also a true story on Beaver T. Foster, but it also gives vibes of stuff like Billy Jack or like First Blood. But it's like, at the same time, none of those movies really fit it tonally. Even the original, I've only seen parts of the original movie, but it also just doesn't. So it's like, if we were going to do Walking Tall, this is probably the best way to do it.
Yeah.
But while we've introduced Walking Tall like that, I figured we go ahead and start with the Marine.
Okay.
We'll start as dumb as possible and work our way up. Is that what you want to call it?
Yeah, I would guess so.
I mean,
for the second video in a row, we're going with the very short action movie.
Yeah. We're in whole other levels of that when we get to Walking Tall, but we'll get to that. But to start with the Marine, I remember when I first saw the Marine. It was an interesting circumstance.
Wasn't it on your birthday?
Yep. by myself during the day. It was like, you know what? Fuck it. We didn't do anything like too big until later in the evening, so it was like, how do I spend the day? Because school was in, so it was apparently on a weekend. My last year of school, if I remember correctly. And so it was, yeah. And I remember at the time, it was a really good, like, movie to do that with. Like, where it was just like, fuck it, I need to do something. Something entertaining. I'm a little disappointed to do this 2 weeks in a row after Shoot 'Em Up. But I don't know, or maybe it's just the period I'm in now. Like, maybe it's just a phase, but I really wish these held up more than they did. But they kind of don't. Where it was like, this was really good to go in the theater. I even had the popcorn and shit. I was in the back row. And just chilling with this movie by myself. And it worked. And it worked for me for a long time. Like, I had a pleasant memory of the movie because of that for a long time. And watching it again recently doesn't really have that same vibe 14 years later.
I don't imagine so.
Because I was reading the back of the case here. Yeah, I own it for some reason.
I got it for $1 at the exchange.
I'm pretty sure
and the only place it started skipping was the end credits.
Of course. There was one moment where I got mine at a flea market for probably less than that. I probably got this for 50 cents.
And you got the unrated version.
I watched the theatrical one, though. I didn't want to add any more time.
Oh, okay.
It's probably just like a couple of seconds or something. But the scene where Morgan is going like under the porch when he gets is the only place. As he was going down the steps, is the only place mine skipped. But I love that we both had a moment where we have used copies that skipped somewhere, and we don't care. But I was reading the back, and it's like we were having a laugh about this after we did the Shoot 'Em Up video, where I was reading the first paragraph here, and it just sums up. There's no reason this movie should not have been straight to DVD, come to think of it.
The sequels are. There's been 5 sequels.
Yeah, none of which I've seen, by the way. And it's like, that's probably a waste of time. And I see as much as I possibly can. But I look at those, and it's like, it just seems like a waste of time. But there's a lot you can tell about an action movie by the description on the back. I noticed this with a lot of Jean-Claude Van Damme movies specifically. Especially the straight-to-video ones. Now, listen to the way this is described. This is how they describe the unrated version. With footage so intense you couldn't see it in theaters, and an arsenal of behind-the-scenes features, it's a whole new tour of duty. And then it gets to a point where this is the stuff I was talking about with like the Van Damme movies. You can always tell that the female character is going to be shoehorned in and is going to serve no purpose when she is described in one way, and it is the same word every single time on the back of every single shitty action movie. It says, after he's unwillingly discharged from Iraq, Triton's beautiful wife, Kate, it's always fucking beautiful. They use, and it's like, oh, that is a surefire sign this character's going to be fucking useless. And yeah, the whole point is that they don't know why they have her. Like, Robert Patrick keeps making new excuses to hang on to her throughout the whole movie. He even has that point when he calls the dude up, that Oscar Isaac meets Frank Grillo villain that doesn't really serve a purpose either. Where he's like, we're going to Plan B, and he's like, what's Plan B? And it's like, I don't know, I'm making it up as I go. And it's like, well, that's really honest of the writer. I totally believe that's what the writers are doing, let alone Robert Patrick's character.
In Robert Patrick's defense, he's very enjoyable in this movie.
Yeah. Because he has moments, like at the beginning, after the robbery, when he blows up the car and he's walking away and fucking Rob Zombie's playing. And it was like, is this movie cool or not? And I came to the conclusion, no, this movie is not cool. Robert Patrick is cool. There's a big difference. I have a question for you, by the way. It's a question I was asking myself, and I still don't know if I have an answer yet.
Okay.
Does this movie know it's dumb, or is it taking itself seriously?
I think the answer to that can be answered by just saying that it's very fitting that it's a WWE film.
That's true. But at the same time, we do have movies like, this is long after the Marine, but we have stuff like Dead Man Down. It's like genuinely serious and genuinely good. It's also WWE, but at the same time, I think Dead Man Down was a case where WWE got it after it was made. So that probably had a lot to do with that.
Yeah.
Whereas you can tell where this comes from.
Do you know who was originally supposed to play John Triton?
No, but I feel like I won't be surprised.
Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yep, not surprised. This would have been, what,
I just saw him the other day because I watched Adam Sandler's Longest Yard. That's a movie we should talk about at some point.
Yeah. Because the thing about it was, this would have been, what, 1 or 2 years after The Condemned?
I think it's 2007, I believe, isn't it?
This one's 2006. So The Condemned would have probably, I want to say The Condemned was 2004, 2005. I can't remember.
I'll look it up real quick while you're making your point.
The conclusion that I came to was, I came to a couple of conclusions after I thought about it for a while, about where is this movie coming from? Does it know what it is or does it not? There's 2 writers credited, which usually means there's probably 20 writers behind the scenes, if not more.
The Condemned is 2007.
Really?
Yeah. The Stone Cold Vinnie Jones one, right?
Yeah.
2007.
All right. So this is before. So there's 2 writers. I feel like one is writing a serious action movie and one is writing a comedy.
Yeah.
And they're not telling each other what they're writing. Because I feel like, because at the beginning we have stuff like, you've been discharged, but sir, I'm a Marine. And it's that feels like it's taken itself way seriously.
What's funny is it seems like the John Cena stuff is taken very seriously. It's the villains that are a little more loose.
Yeah,
like the random backstory with the with Morgan about the rock candy at camp. Where did that come from?
Yeah, because it's like apparently he was molested.
I think that's what we're supposed to believe.
But apparently that's funny. So much so they make a Deliverance joke by playing the Deliverance theme, which is probably the 20th Deliverance reference at this point. And by the way, Steven Seagal already covered that shit in, was it Fire Down Below, I think? What is it with action movies and Deliverance references?
Probably because most of the people that like to watch the action movies like that are people that know what Deliverance is, maybe?
I guess. And I was also thinking about that, and it's like, I feel like the intention at first was that it takes itself seriously.
Mm-hmm.
But they left themselves enough room with all the comedic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That if they wanted to backtrack and say they were being tongue-in-cheek, that most people would buy it.
Especially with the way Robert Patrick is.
Yeah. It's like the villains are in a totally different movie.
Yeah.
Up to and
there is one character though outside of Robert Patrick that I do like, and it's Triton's friend that works security.
Oh,
He's Butch on Gotham.
Yeah,
I like him. Yeah,
I was trying to place that guy the whole time I watched it again. I was like, I know that face.
That's like the Bennett that worked with Robert Patrick was Deathstroke on Arrow. And the whole time, I was thinking he was Crossbones.
So Frank Grillo.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so we both thought that.
Yeah.
I just said Frank Grillo mixed with Oscar Isaac.
But no, he's Deathstroke on Arrow, which it's funny because John Cena plays John Triton and Manu Bennett plays Bennett.
So, and of course we have meta references like the Terminator reference that was inevitable. There's two different instances where a character looks at the camera.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that's where you can tell. It's like, are they really trying to be tongue in cheek or not? Because they're blatantly trying it sometimes. Because there's also the moment where Morgan looks at the car, and then he looks into the camera.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all right, okay. Are you in a comedy, dude? Do you know where you are? Because we don't know where you are. Maybe that's why he looked at the camera. He was like, dude, what the fuck movie am I in? I'm gonna take.
What's funny about this is usually in a movie like this that kind of toes that line, it's the hero that's being comedic. And Cena is straight as a damn arrow. I don't even know if he smiles in the movie.
You know what this is kind of reminding me of?
Hmm.
The more we talk about this, the more Robert Patrick has reminded me of Mr. Feather.
With real weapons.
Yeah.
He even has a Die Hard moment where he comes back after being thought dead.
Yeah, and only he dies by chain the second time instead of the first time.
Mm-hmm. But when he comes back, he looks kind of like Chucky did at the end of Child's Play.
Yeah, it is straight out of a horror movie.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So while we're on the topic of Robert Patrick, what do you think about the opening robbery scene?
As far as what?
Well, I talked about the outside of it when he's blowing shit up.
Mm-hmm.
And I do like the self-awareness when it's like this big thing of he's shooting cars and Rob Zombie's playing and he's walking away from explosions in slow-mo.
Mm-hmm.
And then Morgan's just like, what, was that too much? The robbery itself is a clusterfuck.
Yeah.
What the fuck is this robbery? I have so many questions about this robbery.
And how is it the detective that's investigating is the one that turns out is in on it?
Yeah, there's so many. Speaking of people being in on it, okay, so you've got the moment when he's like, I have to convince this guy to open it, so I'm going to use this hostage. And it's like, that's a clever ruse that his hostage is the girl that's in on it.
Mm-hmm.
So they go in there, and he opens the door, and he's like, okay, you got a gun to a hostage's head. I had to open it so you wouldn't kill her. But then that dude's in on it?
There's a lot of people in on it.
What the fuck was the ruse for?
Like, I thought, like, there were so many people that were in on it. I was actually sitting there watching. I was like, wait a minute, was I in on it? Like, did I miss my cue?
You start looking around to make sure John Cena's not going to bust through your door like the Kool-Aid man.
Yeah.
But then it's like, okay.
I have to make the joke. If he did, it's not like I could see him. Which, how funny is it? The very first scene we have of Cena, he is in camouflage, including with the face paint.
I love how the last time we made that reference, we were talking about Talladega.
That's what happens with these videos.
So, yeah. So why didn't, like, so that guy, if the guy at the door was in on it, he could have had the fucking thing open before any of this even went down. But they went through the whole, the hostage isn't actually a hostage. I don't know. Maybe I missed something.
And they wanted it to make it look real to the cops, but the head cop was in on it.
It's like, it's basically, that cop being in on it is literally the Ruffalo twist, and now you see it. It makes no goddamn sense ever. But then it comes back to what we were talking about with Shoot 'em Up, where it's like, if it's just that kind of movie, can you fault it? But I feel like we can, because that shit doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
And like even more, like even for a movie like this, that is some stupid shit that makes no sense and is pointless. But I do like Robert Patrick blowing cars up the Rob Zombie. It kind of balances the scene out. It's like that's the kind of shit where you say that's the movie we came here for.
Mm.
Weird comedy about deliverance and people getting molested. Like, that's the thing too, is Morgan dies shortly after that reveal, and it's like, the guy was molested at camp. I kind of feel sorry for him. And then Cena's knifing him in the next scene, and it's like, oh.
There is a couple of things that are pretty cool. Like, when his wife first gets taken and he's in the police car, that car chase is pretty cool.
Yeah. I remember being pleased with like that. That's the kind of thing where, like, it's what this kind of movie's made for.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it knew what it needed to have, but then it didn't have any other ideas once it came up with all those.
Mm-hmm.
So they were just like, does any other writers want to come in and write a comedy around this stuff? All right.
Oh, don't forget Robert Patrick randomly getting a call making sure that his cable bill is correct.
I'm not gonna lie, that's pretty funny. Because he's so happy. He's like so into it. He was like, "Oh, really? Am I getting like the whole package?" That's so fucking dumb, but it works. So
would this villain work nearly as well if it was anybody other than Robert Patrick?
I think not, and I think also it works. Like, the only reason the cable thing works, the cable package joke,
mm-hmm.
is that we never take that character seriously. He's always like, trying to be a cut up of sorts.
I love that you describe him as a cut up.
I feel like if he was playing, like, you would think this would be the better way to go, but I feel like if he was playing it totally straight the whole time, and they tried to give him the cable package line, it wouldn't have worked. It would have felt dumb and out of place.
Yeah.
But we're so deep in the movie at this point, and his character is like that through the whole movie, that after a while, it just kind of starts to work by itself. Mm-hmm. It's when it kind of comes from other characters that it makes less sense. Kind of off topic real quick, but it kind of works our way back into this. Did you ever see 12 Rounds?
No, I did not.
Based on this, how do you feel about Cena as like an action movie hero?
I think he's very bland.
He's like, when you see how, like, you've got the action scenes and you've got like Robert Patrick is the villain and Robert Patrick has the "and" credits, but it almost feels like Rome is the star of the movie. You put so much focus in, you can tell he's the character they really wanted to write. And it feels like Cena's almost barely in it, doesn't it? Like, once it takes. Because you have the whole thing where for a while there, they're supposed to think he's dead. But I don't really remember her reacting much to realizing he's still alive.
Well, I mean, she went through that like 3 times.
Yeah, we were
talking. He went through it a couple times with her. I mean, for such a short movie, there are, I think, 5 or 6 cases of, oh, they died. Oh, no, wait, never mind.
Which is one of the most annoying tropes in any type of movie.
And we did it a lot.
This has a field day with it. And it's always using explosions. Did you, we even get the damn scene in every goddamn movie where some major character is believed to be dead, and there's a character giving CPR frantically. We haven't seen that enough times.
What about the random detour that Cena takes for about 5 minutes with the drug guys? I feel like that was done because it was like, fuck, our movie's only like an hour and 10 minutes. We need to add some more.
Yeah. Walking Tall's definitely not exempt from that, but we'll get to it. But yeah, we were talking about how the interesting thing about Crank and Shoot 'em Up was that Crank and Shoot 'em Up are non-stop action movies for the most part. But the interesting thing about them is that combined, Crank and Shoot 'em Up combined, there is one explosion in Crank, and that's it. The Marine has enough explosions for like 50 movies.
The climax alone is just random explosions going off.
Look at the goddamn cover. Look, spoiler alert, this is the movie. Yeah. Once again, to an extent, we're here for that. But how many explosions before it loses its impact? Like, by the 50th explosion, do we care anymore? I don't know. But is there even much else to bring up? Do you have anything else?
I think we covered the whole movie.
Discussing the explosions took out over half of it.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about it in total?
It's a really dumb movie.
Yeah, and I wish I could like it in a more... I don't hate it, but I wish I could get more of a guilty pleasure out of it. I kind of do, like with those chase sequences and Robert Patrick blowing shit up.
Robert Patrick is the thing that can keep you coming back.
Yeah, and I feel like they knew that, and that's why his character's so prominent. Like, I could almost swear Robert Patrick has more screen time than Cena.
It's entirely possible.
I would almost make a bet. And it's like, that's kind of a criticism because Cena's the action hero he's supposed to be. But I mean, did they know that they didn't have, like, what do? Do you surrender to the fact that you don't have an interesting hero? Or do we commend them for trying to balance that out by giving us a villain they went above and beyond for, despite the fact that they didn't give their villain any plans? They gave him lines, but they didn't give him any plans. I don't know. And once again, it's almost like them making a joke about that is them trying to cover their ass that they didn't write anything.
It could be.
Like I said, it's even more ridiculous that when you see that a movie like this has 2 writers, the fact that you know it's so many more that don't even have credits. Yeah, that's how these movies work somehow. That's like Walking Tall. Walking Tall's like an hour fucking long, and it's got 4 credited and about 25% of that is just people getting the shit beat out of them.
Yeah, pretty much.
Where did the work of those writers go? And 2 of them are Dave Levine and Brian Koppelman, the guys that made Knockaround guys. And if you saw our big video, I've talked about that at great length. Or is this us transitioning to Walking Tall?
I think so. Walking Tall has the same thing. There's another. He's not as fun as Robert Patrick, but Neil McDonough is just very slimy.
He's slimy, and God bless him, he's got a fucking plan. He knows what he wants.
Even if most of it is to just be a dick.
Wasn't he? I mean, this is nothing. This is to say, like, this isn't an insult to Neil McDonough. But good God, was he not perfectly cast? That shot, it's like, for some reason, we get 3 different edits of him just standing outside of a building looking douchey. And that's all the scene is.
Most of his time in the trailer was him just looking douchey. But let me pose a question to you to counter your question. Have you ever seen a movie where Neil McDonough wasn't perfectly cast?
He was well cast. I wish he had more screen time in the first Avenger.
Yeah.
That's about as far as we're going to go. And obviously, he got the chance to play Bison, but it was in the worst possible movie.
He got the chance to play what in the worst possible movie?
He played Bison in that Street Fighter movie with Chris Klein.
Oh, yeah. Hey, let's not forget Neil McDonough's defining role, the Hitcher.
How? It is. What's funny is people might think we're talking about the Hitcher remake in, like, ironically.
Mm-hmm.
But when we say that about Neil McDonough in the Hitcher remake, we're kind of not. We're kind of saying that unironically.
I enjoy the Hitcher remake. I've gone back to it several times.
I am shocked we haven't talked about it yet because me and you watched it like every day for a time there.
Maybe that'll be a hint to the next video.
But as far as Walking Tall goes, like I said, I like that it has like an old-fashioned feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't have some of the tropes here, like the fact that we see, Cena in action at the beginning of the movie, and then we see him discharge and stuff like that. I like that Chris's entire military history is strictly hinted at.
Yeah.
Like the first time we see him, he's just coming back. And we just kind of learn through his interactions with other people how it was for him over there.
But he still keeps some things hidden. Like when the little dude from Holes asked him if he killed anyone.
Yeah.
Are you laughing because I dropped Holes?
He keeps giving him like rock looks whenever the question comes up.
He gives him the same. He gives him the look that he now gives Kevin Hart in all their movies.
Yeah. And in real life.
Dude, he's little enough. Kevin Hart could have played the Holes kid.
He still could today.
And with Walking Tall, we know there's some comedic aspects of it because his sidekick's Johnny Knoxville.
Yes, which is great because number one, there's no confusion when a scene is supposed to be comedic or not.
Mm-hmm.
You always know for sure if a scene's going for comedy.
If Johnny Knoxville's there, more than likely it's going to be comedic.
Yeah, and even when he's not, you've got great moments like when that guy goes at him with the bar stool.
Mm-hmm.
He just knocks it out of his hand and across the room, and the guy just stares at him and then runs into that pillar. Like such a great physical comedic moment.
Yeah. It's very classic slapstick.
Yeah, but that's the kind of thing where if you were to just describe it, it would sound stupid and out of place. But in the context of the scene, it like totally works.
Yeah, it was even a trailer moment.
Oh, was it? I don't remember. I remember that moment in the theater, and he got a big laugh out of me. I didn't remember seeing it before seeing the actual movie.
Yeah, it's a trailer moment. I think it's how the trailer ends.
And then talk about Knoxville though. is that the great thing about that is that he's obviously here to give it a comedic balance. He's got that great line when they go to the casino and he's like, it's a room full of fake tits and real assholes.
Yeah.
But Knoxville can also, like, capture, like, a real moment.
Yeah.
Like, they're brief, but that's all they need to be. And it's, like, kind of impressive. Because especially at the time, we didn't expect, because wasn't really his only big movie role before this, Men in Black 2?
Probably, yeah.
Like, we were still in a phase where it was weird to see Johnny Knoxville in movies.
Yeah. That weren't Jackass movies.
Yeah, and it was like, the second he had, like, a real moment here, like, as short-lived as it is, it's like, oh, wow, that felt real.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the moment when he was talking about, like, how his life spiraled downward after Chris left,
Mm-hmm.
or the moment when they're in the hospital. It's like, these scenes are brief, but he really captures something there that's, like, genuine in those
Mm-hmm.
scenes. And it's like the fact that he can do both those things and not just the slapstick comedy guy,
Mm-hmm.
where it was like, yeah, because Knoxville has real talent. Like, he gives, like, this might sound weird, but if you've seen the movie, I hope you know, he gives a genuine performance in Bad Grandpa.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's really good in Bad Grandpa.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is Bad Grandpa, right? Dirty Grandpa is the De Niro one, right?
Yes.
Sometimes I wonder if I'm getting this confused.
Yeah.
The title's confused anyway. But yeah. So, how do you feel about? Notice both times we've talked about these movies, the center of the movie is who we talk about seemingly last. What did you think when you first saw this about The Rock as an action hero? Because this was post the rundown, wasn't it?
The rundown had already happened, and the Scorpion King had already happened.
Yeah. I don't know how much the Scorpion King counts, but the Mummy Returns certainly doesn't count.
Mm-hmm.
But do you remember how you felt about The Rock as an action hero up to this point? I think he really won people over with the rundown because the rundown is great.
Yeah, the rundown's a movie we should talk about at some point.
Yeah. His dad in Walking Tall even has his similar moment in the rundown where it's like, no, I don't do guns. I don't do guns. But when I do guns, I do guns. But yeah, I feel obviously he got to show off a lot more in the rundown. I feel like that character was significantly more charismatic.
Yeah, when they let his charisma come through, it's completely different. Because he's probably one of the most charismatic people alive.
Yeah, and I love how quickly he showed that.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you would think it would be a process for somebody like him to find their way in blockbuster movies,
Mm-hmm.
but as soon as the rundown hit, off it went.
It's kind of like Batista with Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, it was pretty much instantaneous.
Yeah.
And the thing about that was, to The Rock's credit, is that Batista kind of started in like supporting, the supporting role of Drax is where he really took off because he got to be basically the comedy relief while also getting to do the action thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like sort of like if you look at the rundown, Batista got to be The Rock and Sean Williams in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And The Rock had the supporting role in The Mummy Returns, which is barely him. It's mostly that shitty CGI. But then, yeah, like just going right into leading roles for a lot of people in his position at that time would feel like a death. Like it would feel like if the rundown had failed, he could potentially be in straight to DVD land right now.
Or just still wrestling.
Yeah, or doing more like game plan, tooth
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
But it's no. Once again, everybody has theirs. Hulk Hogan had Mr. Nanny. Vin Diesel had the pacifier. Right now, Batista has My Spy. So
Mm-hmm.
The Rock just had to do it twice, but that just shows how long his career's been going. So
It's amazing how many movies he's been in now. He's in 3 or 4 a year.
yeah, and he's got, and I feel like I talk about this a lot. We're never gonna fucking see Jungle Cruise, but it'll always be almost coming out.
And see, he's also gotten to that point where he's in all these movies, and a lot of the movies aren't great, but you never blame him.
Yeah, people are slowly starting to blame him because they feel like he's just playing the same role now.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, he's got a lifetime pass from me because of Pain and Gain. The fact that I know that Pain and Gain is in him,
Mm-hmm.
I will always have hope that he can find that again.
Mm-hmm.
It's like when him doing Pain and Gain is like when Johnny Depp did Black Mass.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, dude, if we know you can do that and you know you can do that, why aren't you always doing that? But yeah, but I like it here because we were talking about his charisma.
Mm-hmm.
And while Chris may not seem as charismatic of a character,
Mm-hmm.
the whole idea behind him is that he's stoic.
Yeah.
And he does that perfectly. But obviously this movie has a problem. I don't know if you see this as a problem also, where it's like I feel like the movie could have been more. We were talking about its length.
Mm-hmm.
And we weren't fucking around when we were talking about its length. It is listed as an hour and 26 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
At the 1 hour and 14-minute mark, the credits start rolling, and the credits roll for 12 and a half minutes.
Good
for
Lord.
a movie that barely breaks an hour. And you can tell they broke the credits up. The credits aren't grouped like they normally are. It's like one individual credit rolls at a time. Like, what was is it Flashdance? That has a credit roll that's like notoriously really, really slow. Like,
I don't know.
The credits of Flashdance move at this rate. It's insane. It's insane how much you can, like Return of the King. Return of the King is 3 hours and 20 minutes, which sounds really long. 20 minutes of that is the credits.
Yeah.
This movie is an hour and 26 minutes, with 12 minutes of that being credit roll. The movie is way too short and moves way too fast.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you hear that, you're like, wow, this, because we have movies, so many movies nowadays that are way too long. I so often find myself asking, where the hell are the short movies? But this,
I know one movie. I know one series that really gets under your skin with this. The Pirates of the Caribbean sequels.
I bagged on death once. Do you want me to do it again? I just got done saying. But here's the thing, is Jay's guys beat the holy shit out of him.
Mm-hmm.
They hospitalize him. He has to go through recovery. Then once he recovers, he returns, he beats the shit out of guys. But he recovers immediately. Like, there's a great way to do this. Bad Boys for Life just did this.
Mm-hmm.
There is a whole portion at the beginning of the movie where Mike gets shot and has to recover.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot of great moments, and you feel that recovery process, which means it's great and triumphant when he comes back. There's no triumph because he recovers in a montage that's like 20 seconds long. And it's like
it's mostly comedic.
Yeah, he sits on the couch, he sits on the couch, he sits on the couch, he does sit-ups. He's recovered. Mm-hmm. Then he goes and he beats the shit out of the guys, and then he has to go to trial for that. This trial is 30 seconds long. And it's over like that. They're like, I choose to represent myself. Oh, how's this going to go down? Not guilty. Where'd the movie go?
And then he's like, I'm going to run for sheriff. And we cut to the next scene and he's just sheriff.
Yeah. Only the move, unfortunately, normally you could praise a move for being this snappy and getting to the point. But doesn't the movie suffer being this quick?
It's moving pretty quick.
There's no impact because it's been we are literally watching it in fast forward. There is no impact. There's not even an epilogue. He beats Jay nearly to death, and then they're like, "All right, let's get in the car and drive off." And like ADR, like last minute dialogue, Knox will record the last minute. Oh, I wonder how Jay is doing in jail. Haha, credit roll. He was beating the shit out of Jay 20 seconds ago, and the credits are rolling. Where is the movie? Where is the fucking movie? I like what's here, for the most part. But where's the goddamn rest of it? That's the only problem.
You feel like it's a movie where there's like 40 minutes somewhere sitting on the cutting room floor.
Yeah, and it wouldn't have been bad. You could have really built some character here.
What's funny is you were talking about the trial scene and his montage recovery scene. One of the longest scenes in the movie is the shootout with the old sheriff when Kevin Durant's in the cell.
Yeah, Michael Bowen.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing too. Are you ready for this shit? Are you prepared for this shit?
Okay.
Everything I already said.
Mm-hmm.
The movie still has filler. How does the movie possibly have room for filler?
Are you thinking of Chris's ex-girlfriend?
Much like Cena, at least Cena's wife gave Robert Patrick some leverage or something. That's what he kept saying. Anyway, and we never see this leverage take place, but he had it just in case through the whole movie.
With his girlfriend, it's just like, oh my God, she works for Jay, and then she's like, oh, I quit.
Yeah, and then after that shootout where she serves no purpose,
we don't see her again, do we?
Never see her again. She's not even a little epilogue. She doesn't like have her arms wrapped around him like, hey, we ended up together or whatever. No, he and Knoxville have the we ended up moving together. And it's like, what was all that about? You have a forced non-sex scene, and you have the stripper scene. And through the shootout, her only purpose is that she's only in her bra.
Yeah.
She's there for the ancient tits and ass thing. I don't know. Maybe people still want that, regardless of the purpose it never serves. But I mean, why do you need filler in a movie that's too fucking short? Why, instead of take her character out entirely, if you want to give him a female counterpart, give Kristen Wilson more screen time.
Yeah.
And by the way, where the hell is she? She did the Dr. Dolittle movies, she did Bulletproof, she did this, and she disappeared off the face of the fucking earth.
Oh, I thought you meant in the movie. I didn't realize you meant in real life.
Both.
Well, in the movie, the Holes kid like OD'd, and then that was it for her.
Yeah. The movie, I mean, I kind of get this is what they were going for. It kind of goes with the old-fashioned feel like Billy Jack or something, but still. Do those scenes not play like an after-school special?
Yeah.
A major kid in this plot has overdosed. We should feel sad. I laugh like a maniac when she says crystal meth. It's like it's so fucking over the top in this dramatic way. It's like, oh no, because it's like, hey, I saw you smoking weed earlier, and it's like, oh, he OD, what happened? Crystal meth. It's like, holy shit, where did that come from?
It's like, too, like, when you think about it, how the hell did they not realize it was going down at the mill? Like, Neil McDonough closed it, and as soon as it closed, all of a sudden there's drugs everywhere. Can't be that.
There's so many things in this movie where he might as well have a neon sign. The scene where he's riding around with Kobe Smulders.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, I'm pretty sure it didn't have a fucking line.
I didn't realize until you just said it that it was Kobe Smulders.
Yeah.
Dum Dum Dugan and Maria Hill driving down the road.
Yeah. And you know what's great about that scene?
Mm.
Is we were talking about how obvious
Neil McDonough's hat. You asked what was great about it.
Apart from that, between that and the Hitcher, he's like a professional. Neil McDonough is a professional hat wearer.
Dum Dum Dugan has the bowler.
Yeah. God, Neil
McDonough and hats go together like peanut butter and jelly.
He can rock a lid like nobody's business.
Neil McDonough needs to do a voice in an animated movie, and his character needs to have an outlandish hat.
What I was getting ready to say was you were talking about how it's so fucking obvious he's linked to the drugs.
Mm-hmm.
It's really funny you say that because the scene with him and Colby Smulders reminds me so much of the scene with Bronson Pinchot in True Romance when he gets caught with the cocaine. That's the only thing that didn't happen to link Jay to the drugs. Was to have them just plastered all over. So, even the middle portion's in a damn hurry. When it's like, all right, me and Knoxville are going to get down to business. And it's a montage that's shot from overhead. They don't even want to show us the action up close. Mind you, if the movie had more meat to it, I like the way this montage is done, where we get the overhead shot that kind of pans into the next, and we see the shit going down.
Mm-hmm.
I do like that stuff, and it's like the whole thing of Knoxville in narration is saying delicacy is key, and as he's saying this over the narration, Chris is bashing a guy's face into the hood of the car. It's literally.
There's also this movie. I think this movie's so short because there's so many montages going on. Because let's not forget the montage of when they take apart his truck.
Yeah, when they go fucking French Connection on Kevin Durant's truck. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good Lord. And speaking of Kevin Durant and his death and the deaths that are caused and all this, Michael Bowen's death is there. For the plot of this movie, it is or is it not distractingly bloodless? You know what I mean?
Bloodless?
Like, Kevin Durant gets blown away. Michael Bowen gets blown away with a shotgun. The guy his dad kills gets blown away with a shotgun. There are no wounds on these people.
I'm pretty sure with this movie, too, I'm pretty sure our body count is averaging about 1 out of every 10 minutes.
Yeah, because that's the thing is the movie is so bloodless. And he beats Jay by not killing him, but arresting him.
Mm-hmm.
Or not arresting him. We learn he's arrested. The movie's in such a hurry, we don't see him arrested. We're told he's arrested after he's knocked out. Mm-hmm. But that's beside the point.
Which, you could have shown that because Chris is the fucking sheriff.
Yeah, doesn't he say, like...
He could have just done it.
Doesn't he say, like, he knocks him out, and as we're dissolving into the next scene, he just says, "You're under arrest." It's like he's saying, "Oh, by the way."
While you're down there.
That's the thing is he doesn't kill Jay. Okay? Mm-hmm. So honestly, keeping in mind, I always remembered how the movie ended, that he didn't kill Jay.
Mm-hmm.
I always forget that people die in the movie. I always have it in my head that he does all of this. He goes Nicholas Angel and Hot Fuzz. Nobody dies.
Mm-hmm.
I forget that people get blown away with shotguns in this movie because there are no fucking wounds. And that's the weird thing about that, though, is it's like they saved all of their PG-13 violence for the last scene because there is no blood. Like, Kevin Durant gets shot in the back, It looks more like there just happens to be gunfire around him, and he trips and falls to his death. With that said,
so you're saying if not for Neil McDonough's beating, we'd probably have a PG movie on our hands.
Yeah, and the F-bomb is in there. But apart from that, because it's like, but that's the thing, though, is it's like they saved all of their PG-13 violence, because with all of that said, the fight with Jay is pretty brutal.
Yeah.
It's really pretty brutal for the kind of movie it's been up to this point. And to a satisfying extent, but then it's like the way it just ends with, you're under arrest. After all that, it's like at least beat his ass to death, for God's sake. Is it too much to ask him? We watched that guy douche around town the whole movie. The least you could do is beat him to death for our entertainment. It's like if he went all Maximus and he's like, "Are you not entertained?" It's like, "No, kill his ass. Do it. Get Joaquin out here to give him the thumbs down." But no, you're under arrest as the credits roll. Whatever. What the hell ever.
This movie, like the whole thing, it's like the movie's like coming through and saying, "Hey, man, I got shit to do. I got to give you the short version of the story."
Yeah. What the hell was it, Sam Murray? It's Walking Tall. It's like we want to give The Rock a vehicle, but we kind of figure the rundown did our job for us. So you can just watch this on fast forward. You'll get the plot is so paper thin. You'll get the idea if we just fast forward through it.
I'm pretty sure the movie is so short that the last time I watched it, it was on TV. It was on after, I think it was on after AEW. Yeah, because JR said on commentary, he's like, "My good friend The Rock and Walking Tall next." I'm pretty sure it had 4 commercial breaks.
Did it even reach the normal 2-hour time slot with commercials?
It reached 2 hours barely. When the credits started rolling, it was like 1 minute to the top of the hour.
How many fucking commercials were there in those breaks? Because when it plays on fucking TV like that, they blow through the credits. But they cut that 12 minutes out entirely. How did they put an hour and 14 minutes into a 2-hour time slot? That is ridiculous. I
think each break had like 6 or 7 commercials.
That's like, remember when we used to watch Beavis and Butthead on MTV and the commercial breaks took forever?
Yeah.
It must have been like that. It had to have.
Did you see that it's getting rebooted by Comedy Central?
Yeah. I wonder what they're going to watch if they're not going to be watching, like, MTV's shitty shows.
I mean, every time I turn on Comedy Central, there are 4 shows that are on. The Daily Show, The Office, South Park, and The Cleveland Show. This is going to be one of those. Every once in a while, Drunk History's on.
So, which do you prefer, the Marine or Walking Tall?
I kind of have a soft spot for Walking Tall.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like almost Walking Tall is objectively.
Yeah.
Because it's got that old-fashioned story. Like I keep comparing it to Billy Jack. Mm-hmm. Billy Jack's not even a movie I like. I don't like Billy Jack at all. Mm-hmm. But it's got a certain nostalgia to it of those movies like that.
I think the best way that I can explain it is if both of these movies were made in the 80s, The Marine would star Jean-Claude Van Damme or Steven Seagal, and Walking Tall would probably star Stallone or Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, Stallone, because it's basically First Blood.
But I think that's where the difference is. It's pretty much a Seagal and Van Damme movie against a Schwarzenegger-Stallone movie.
That sounds about right.
Hell, isn't The Last Stand pretty much like Walking Tall?
Yeah, Knoxville's more or less. I would not be surprised if Knoxville's playing the same fucking character. We're universe building here.
We need to talk about a Schwarzenegger movie at some point.
Yeah, I've hit some, but I certainly haven't hit all. I just did The Running Man. I've done Last Action Hero. I've done Total Recall. Did the Terminators.
Kindergarten Cop needs tackled.
Yep, I haven't done that yet, and there's plenty to talk about there.
Yeah.
The only thing is like tonally, no movie is really like Kindergarten Cop. Kindergarten Cop is one of the weirdestly toned movies of all time.
It is, because the movie that comes to mind first is High School High, but the tones don't match.
High School High is basically just like a airplane-style parody of Dangerous Minds.
Mm.
But we'll figure this out off camera. But
yeah.
But is that the extent? I think I hit all the things I wanted to mention.
Yeah, I mean, our video is approaching the same length as Walking Tall, so.
Yeah. If we started Walking Tall when we started this video, Jay would probably be getting the shit beat out of him as we speak. Am I wrong? Or is the fucking football scene longer than the climax?
Oh, the football scene does take a while.
That's the real showdown with Jay. The climax is just like this is just a continuation of the football game.
What's funny, too, is this evolves into the beating that Jay receives. But at the beginning of the movie, he's just a dick.
Yeah, he goes from, like, Bradley Cooper and Wedding Crashers to literally the villain of a fucking Stallone movie.
He goes from, what did you say the first thing was?
What was that? Wedding Crashers?
Yeah, he goes from Bradley Cooper and Wedding Crashers to Robert Patrick in The Marine.
To be fair, in Romeo Must Die, Jet Li also plays football with the Bills. Yes, this has happened more than once. Jet Li played football with Anthony Anderson in Romeo Must Die.
Oh, man.
Yep. So, all right. Is that the extent of this? There's no way we could stretch this out any further.
No.
All right, so we will discuss what's going on next. I've got a review video to do that's going to be Hamilton, the Will Ferrell singing movie on Netflix, My Spy, and Jon Stewart's movie. I don't know if that's going to be before. I'll probably send this first, and he'll decide which one he's going to put up first. But I still need to watch Hamilton before I even do that, and it's like almost 3 hours. So, but yeah, and then after that, whatever we come up with, and then I believe Tom Hanks' new movie is next week. So I'll be looking into that and whatever else there is, and we'll just see what happens until I do I'm going to start that Stephen King novella series in September. Like I said, I was going to see if you want to partake when I got to like Shawshank and Stand By Me and Secret Window and stuff like that. But we'll cross all those bridges when we get there. So, you have anything else to add?
No.
Right.
No, wait, I do have one more thing. We were talking about Sandler's Longest Yard a little bit ago. I think the football game of Walking Tall is longer than the football game with the Mean Machine and the Guards.
Which, if I remember correctly, is like, what, half of that movie?
Yeah, essentially.
That's all this movie was missing, with James Cromwell running things.
No, Alan Covert is a referee.
Yep, that would have been the cherry on top for this movie.
Because his sliminess in The Longest Yard would have gone perfectly with Jay's sliminess. Because Jay would have like ripped off someone's leg and he'd have been like, I saw nothing.
And then Chris Rock is in the Marine because he dies in an explosion.
Oh, it's all tied back together.
All right.
I wonder if Michael Bay watches The Marine to like get his jollies off.
Yeah, dude. How the hell is this video still going?
I'm just thinking about like at the very end of The Marine when he's got the unconscious body of his wife and he's walking up the stairs. There's just random explosions going off in the background. It's like somebody was like, shit, we still have stuff to blow up. Just light it all. It looks like the freaking 4th of July grand finale.
Well, don't forget, there's something else Michael Bay is all about with his explosions, and the cover of the Marine here covered that as well. Of course, the fucking American flag is behind him. Why wouldn't it be?
I think we've stretched this to its limit. The Walking Tall credits just rolled.
Yes, we're past Walking Tall now. All right. So if you don't have anything else to add, is that it?
I believe so.
All right. Let's end this.